An overview of the hurricane futures and options by Brittanie and Justin. A hurricane derivative provides the buyer financial protection against the negative effects of a hurricane. There's three different contract types listed on the CME. The first being hurricanes futures and options, the second being hurricane seasonal futures and options, and the third being hurricane seasonal maximum futures and options. I'll get into a little bit more about them in a bit. The CMEHI is how they are listed. It's an index that describes the potential for damage from the Atlantic hurricane in the United States and is used as the basis for trading hurricane futures and options on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. As you can see, the formula down at the bottom right shows how they calculate this. So the first of the three different types is the hurricane futures and options. Basically, that is based on one specific hurricane making landfall in a specific area or region. So you can bet on only one hurricane as compared to the next type, which is a seasonal future and option, where that is accumulated and takes the average CHI for all of the hurricanes within that 1 year. And that's how that one works. The next one is the maximum futures and options. So that is only going to be based on the largest hurricane to make landfall in that calendar year. Here are some examples of how you would find them listed on the CME. This one being the first type. This is the seasonal or the second type. And this is the maximum or the third type. The market participants, obviously insurance and reinsurance companies, hedge funds, energy companies, pension funds, state government, utility companies, energy traders, and speculators. Who buys it? It's geared mainly towards energy traders and speculators. They can use these futures to hedge a natural gas protection as hurricanes disrupt that industry quite significantly. Speculators simply bet on the potential impact Atlantic storms will have. Insurance companies and reinsurance companies sell them, and it's basically used to transfer risk to capital markets and to increase capacity to insure customers.
So when an Atlantic storm forms and it strengthens enough to be named and appears to be headed for landfall, that's when these futures and options will begin trading. They start trading at $1,000 per point on the CMEHI. A trader who believes that the hurricane will strengthen will hold a long position, and vice versa. If they believe it will weaken, they're going to hold a short position. So these are the cash flows of hurricane derivatives. On the left, you see someone who's holding a long position. If they buy a long position on a futures contract on a size 2 storm, they stand a profit as it strengthens, and they will lose the cost of the contract when it weakens. The same goes for a short position. If they're holding a short position on a size 2 storm, as it weakens, they will gain profit, but if it strengthens, they're going to lose the cost of the contract. So some of the benefits of these contracts are to mitigate exposures for named hurricanes and specific regional locations. They also help insurers and others transfer risk to capital markets, and they increase the insurance capacity in order to insure customers or hedge the business. Some risks are the fact that weather can be unpredictable. We also have to think about the fact that many factors go into weather forecasts, so that leaves a lot of uncertainty for the investors. These contracts are regulated by the CFTC, that's the Commodities Future Trading Commission. So the CFTC actually regulates the CME Group, and because the CME Group created these futures and options contracts, they are also regulated by the CFTC. So the Dodd-Frank legislation has no effect on these futures and options. These options and futures are sold in the secondary markets on the CME. They are quoted, as we mentioned before, in CHI index points. which is the CME Hurricane Index, a numerical measure of the potential damage from a hurricane using publicly available data from the National Hurricane Center of the National Weather Service is where that comes from. It incorporates sustained wind speed and the radius of the hurricane force winds, as we mentioned before. The tick size is 0.1 CHI index points. So for the hurricane futures and options, one tick equals $1,000, and for the hurricane seasonal futures and the hurricane maximum futures and options, one tick equals $100.